Yeah, Lisa was going to, but yes, I might be now. Yeah, she said 4:30. Correct.
Tom, if you want me to pound the gavel, I can reach it from here.
No. Hit it, you go.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to call this workshop and regular meeting to order. If I could, Tom Chapa,
Here.
David Crisipoli, Pamela Dowd, Lisa Glidden, James McKenzie,
Here.
Sean Amick, Heidi Sweeney, and Maura Dempsey. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Calvin and Tom Chapa.
So we are, sorry about that. We're here to kind of try to have the board work through some goals for the year. Tom is here with us, so we're going to kind of turn this over to him for a little bit here as we try to create a couple goals for the board. And if there's any questions or concerns that you might need answers to from our cabinet, members of the cabinet are here to help as well. So with that said, Tom, we're just going to give it over to you.
Okay, great. I know Lisa was going to do this. I thought we'd do it as a collective anyway. But basically, if we look back at the goals that we had set for ourselves last year, we had goals and then we have objectives in the bottom part. And I believe, and everybody chime in and correct me, that really the objectives were the three tangible things that we could look at trying to affect during the course of the year. And one of them, I think we did in terms of getting a comprehensive view and looking at everything relative to the district and state of the district. The other one, which was trying to address the nuclear reserve component, we made some steps in that direction, but we didn't complete it. And the third one, if you can refresh me, because I can't bring them up at the same time on my computer, I think is still open and still something that we can look at. So I think just want to have that discussion if we wanted to continue along the lines with the objectives we had last year that we didn't accomplish and try to finish those, and then what else we might want to put on the table that we can accomplish this year. Would anyone? Go ahead.
Are these the goals from last year? Did we get
On the Board of Education.
Yeah, if you look under the board, there's the Board of Education goals that sit underneath there. They're on the main website. And then the first three were aligning pretty much with the district goals and the superintendent's goals and supporting those, I believe. And then we had what we looked at as objectives. We got into the discussion of an objective, something we could accomplish as the board independent of the district goals and the superintendent goals. Can you see those, Heidi?
So just to make sure we're looking, it's the 1920?
No, go down more.
Next one.
Below it.
I believe there was also an email that Lisa Yeah, okay. And there was also an email I think that Lisa sent out with those goals on them, if you recall, from last week.
So are we in agreement as far as those three objectives at the end? Can we see, can we just read through those?
You'll read them out loud,
Would
maybe?
someone,
4A you're talking about, right? Thanks.
correct.
Do you want a copy?
Number 1, or number 4A, we will advocate for and explore our options to create a nuclear reserve fund, June 2022 was our goal. Now, our hands are somewhat tied on that, we can only go so far with that. B was we will create a document containing institutional knowledge and information to serve future board members, June 2022. And C, we will complete an efficiency study to understand better our annual budget and reserve funds, June 2022.
Right. So I think that are we in agreement? We've accomplished the third objective. 1 and 2 are still open. We did not accomplish the onboarding document to help with onboarding new members. So again, I just want to put this to the board as a collective. Is that something we want to continue to pursue? And if we do, set a timeline for it so that we can accomplish it, and how we may go about that.
I'm willing to put a timeline of 1 more year to go to June of 2023 on both A and B.
Okay.
Because I do think Lisa is actually composing the document. She's working on things. Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And Pam, to your speaking relative to the nuclear reserve fund, we have made some progress in that and made some connections, and potentially I think Mathis will speak to some degree to that in the PowerPoint presentation. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to move some in that direction and establish that to some degree so we can start putting some funds there. But at least there's some hope on the horizon, I believe, that we might be able to do that. I don't know if everyone knows, but Senator Mannion, I reached out to him, and we've had some conversations with him, and he's willing to meet with us also to discuss some potentials there for legislation. Mathis, do you have anything more relative to that?
So we're certainly watching to see what's happening in terms of legislation, but if the board wishes to, we can certainly set up that meeting, facilitate that meeting, and get some of that information on the senators and also some of our legislators' desk as soon as possible. I think also it would be good to bring back to the board as well some information that's out there. So I know that one of our neighboring districts already has some funds set aside for a nuclear issue. And it would be good to kind of understand their process, how they got to where they're at. It's a unique situation I haven't seen before, but maybe we can do some exploration there. So my thought would be, as Pam said, keeping both of those goals and just adding the measured piece in terms of by the end of this year you want to get that done. I think that would be good. That's my thought.
So shall we keep that on? Are we in agreement relative to keeping that as an objective?
Yes.
Thumbs up, everyone?
Okay.
Yeah. Great. I know that, Pam, you just said that Lisa's working on the document, the onboarding document. Is that the one you were referring to?
Yes.
Yes.
And she's coming down.
Yes.
Here she comes right now, but I do believe that, because only because she's mentioned it in a couple of meetings, referenced, this is a good thing to be putting into that document, so.
Right.
I have a
Well, I was
feeling
wondering
she's got
if we
this
wanted
thing
to,
going.
if we wanted to set up a committee to do that, and then just be able to bring it back to the board, because I know it's kind of difficult for us to bring that all and work together, but would that be something we might want to look at doing? And Heidi, that would be an ad hoc committee.
I have no comment.
I don't know, would that be something that would be worth exploring? But Lisa's here now, and so.
I think everybody's good with that.
I think it's a good idea, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
no.
think
Yeah,
If
but
we
have
set
2 or
that
3
aside.
people together and put together the document and then share it with everybody. Sounds like a good way to go with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do have a draft list of the items that I took from whenever that meeting was, about a month ago. I was taking notes as everyone spoke, so I've got some topics that should go in.
She was making a list.
Great. So Lisa, I'll turn it over to you to continue to guide from here, but if we would like to do that and set that up, a committee to work on that, that would be great, from my point of view.
Right, I agree, we probably should make that determination, like now, who's on that committee.
For doing the, you want to do that right now, or you want to work on the other two
Yes,
goals?
Yeah, sorry, while we're on that subject.
Okay. Holly was sort of voluntold, but you don't have to. Is anyone interested in being on the?
I would serve on it. But I also think a new board member would be very helpful to be on it, to then relay what it is they would have, that you came upon and maybe should have been in a document as we are going along. So I think that that's really important to have a new one, and I'd be happy to sit on it as a couple of year veteran.
Yeah, I don't mind being a part of it if we could probably plan to meet on video and, or I'm only really available after school hours if we're going to meet in person.
I'd be willing to partake if you'd like, and that would work also for me.
Well, so just as clarification, if we're only, excuse me, oh, that's what the off's for. There's only 3 individuals, right? Then we're not officially convening anything. So if you could even do a Google Doc and edit back and forth for a while, rather than physically getting together, just start it that way, just as an idea.
Right. So, yeah, we can just double check with our lawyers, basically, because since the video meetings are no longer allowed, I don't know if like a committee meeting counts as so we'll figure that out. I mean, I think I already have it as a Google Doc.
Yeah, that would be
I
fine.
shared, but we can, we will double check on that.
Okay.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm just getting on to,
So it sounds like goal 3 is good, A and B as an objective are good, but the C we're going to drop, is what it sounds like. The
Okay.
board wants to drop that one. So now it's just.
and did
goal
we
1 and
start
2.
with 3?
Tom reviewed 1 and 2, and they
Okay.
got focused on 3. I'm not sure what they want to do with 1 and 2.
So, I'm sorry, I need to get on to my,
Yeah, I'm having trouble too.
I don't have phone service, so I can't
Can you
link
read
to my,
Goal 1 and 2 again.
does anyone have the list in front of
They
them?
have 'em, they
Because I
have
don't
'em.
have my,
Yeah. I can't get on either for some reason.
thank you. Okay. Okay, so for goal 1, we're good with, is everyone good with supporting the district to ensure the? Yeah. Okay. Supporting the district to ensure high-quality educational data. So reviewing district data at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. I don't know that we did that systematically last year, but we did it within a bunch of meetings. I don't know that we called it like that, but,
Review,
right,
probably not in that set
Right.
line.
right.
We can provide data
Which-
if you'd like. If you want.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to keep that as a goal.
Do you want to keep it as a goal, but maybe take out the specificity of beginning, middle, and end of the year and put in there something like at various times throughout the year
Yeah,
or
that's
throughout the
good.
year?
Okay. Is there anything else we would want to address with that goal? Okay. All right. Okay, so then goal 4, ensure the district is operating in an efficient manner. Tom, I know you did some work on this. So for A, we had I mean, I think as an overarching goal, that would be good. So we had advocate for, explore our options to create a nuclear reserve fund, which we did do that. So this is a goal that we met, although it is not a,
They agreed to continue A and B.
oh, A and B, sorry,
they're good.
okay.
C,
Tom started with number 4.
Okay,
Yeah, so before you came in, he jumped straight to 4,
Okay, got
and
it.
that's where we started.
okay,
So now we've gone 1 through 3, we're good.
okay,
Was change it to June 2023.
okay.
We're still keeping them, but we need another year to work it out.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
So goal 3, I think, is the last one we need to go over.
Okay, so complete an efficiency study to better understand our annual budget and reserve funds, which we did. We met that goal, although I do think there was consensus from everyone that we would like to have back, that we would invite Rick Timms back again to discuss our long-term fiscal planning. So we can, I mean, I think it's already in the works. It seems disingenuous to maybe set it as a goal because we know we're going to meet it, but do we, you know, to work through our efficiency study data, I guess we can say? Anyone have any strong feelings on that one, or just want to get rid of C because we did it?
I think it's okay to leave that in there, because I think we should always be looking at efficiencies. Part of what I was, excited with all these new administrators coming in is a fresh eye at what we do. And there may be places where Rick Timms didn't dive into things the way people who work in this every day could, and maybe find more efficiencies. So I think it's always worthwhile to do that as an exercise. Not that it has to be one of our main goals, but I think we're on a borderline of, have we finished? Are we, type that we can continue for this year?
Maybe do you want to write review and update, review and?
So, I put work through review, might be a better word there, Pam, I think you're right. So the only thing is, like, we did have to engage with outside agencies to run those efficiency studies, and I don't think we want to do that every single year.
But we could review the efficiencies that have been recommended. and
Right.
Implement wherever possible.
Right.
Throughout the year.
Yes.
So I'll put review recommended efficiencies. Or efficiency, recommendations from efficiency studies?
Yes.
Okay,
Where needed or where possible.
okay. Okay, so we will review recommendations from efficiency studies where possible. And maybe instead of to understand, but it would be to shape our annual budget and reserve funds?
Yeah, sure. Build. Guide.
Guide is good.
Guide.
To guide our annual budget and reserve, okay. June 23? All right. Were there any other goals? Did anyone have anything else that they wanted to add to the?
I did some research about some other districts around the area, and one thing that popped up, it seemed a lot, was safety of students. So if you could add that maybe in the first one, where it says mental, physical health, and safety of students and staff. That's just something I noticed was a recurring thing than other districts.
Okay. All right, so support the district in ensuring the mental and physical health and safety of our students and staff. Okay. Any other? I think 4 is a good amount to work with. All right, okay. So do we need a roll call vote on this, or can we just vote on all of these points? Yeah, we can just do a vote. Okay, so all in favor of adopting these 4, oh, right. Yeah, I guess we could do that too. Can I get a motion to adopt the 4, these 4 points as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
The way that looks in flyer form, poster form, whatever, when you go to our website, as opposed to some of the other ones, it looks like it pops and it's easy to read and stuff. So if we could keep it maybe when you go down into the thing and you click on it and it pops up in the PDF like that, the form I gave you.
Okay.
Yes, that, it's easier to read and it looks organized.
Sure, yeah, I'll say sure. I'm assuming Karen is the one who did this. Okay. Okay, yeah. I have no problem with that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. I think that does end our workshop. That was all we had. Okay, so we'll take a bit of a break. It's we've got 24 minutes before the Board of Ed meeting begins.
Call tonight's meeting to order. Tom Chapa,
Here?
Dave Christopoli,
Here.
Pamela Dowd, Lisa Glidden,
Here.
James McKenzie,
Here.
Sean Ahmet,
Here.
Heidi Sweeney,
Here.
and Maura Dempsey. At this time, there is no one signed up for floor to the public, so I will turn it over to the superintendent for the superintendent's report, please.
All right. Good evening, Board. Good to see everybody back again this evening. We're just going to jump right into our report here this evening. So first, I want to congratulate the Fitzhugh Park School, the elementary school there. They have a new playground, and they had their ribbon-cutting dedication ceremony last week, and nice ceremony. Want to thank all of the folks who were involved. I know Dr. Glidden was involved quite a bit with the work that was done there. Before she was on the Board of Education, she started that process. We also had Donna Simmons, who was there, came back to help dedicate the playground, and we had a lot of community folks there. Just want to say thank you to everybody, and just job well done. So just wanted to share that this evening. Nice, really nice bright spot. As you all know, we've recently completed our school tours and also inspections of the schools. I want to thank all the board members who were able to attend to just kind of get a chance to see what our schools are looking like, and the things that are being renovated, and also the work that needs to continue to be done as we kind of move forward. So if there's any questions, certainly you can let us know. And again, thank you to those who were able to come and be a part of that work. I shared with you all earlier this late last week that we had some conversations with Constellation, that group, who have Fitzpatrick and 9 Mile 1 and 2 there that they take care of, in addition to several plants around the country as well. They recently had a State of the Plants events, a series of events. Unfortunately, that was like on our first day of school, so I wasn't able to get to that event. And usually you can tour the facilities and then get a chance to hear, how things are going. Because I wasn't able to tour, I did ask if it was possible to have a conversation with the folks who were putting that event on, and they did give me a call. We had a great follow-up conversation. I talked with one of the representatives of the company, and what we know is that the plants right now are doing very well, in part due to the ZEC credit program that's in place. This is zero emissions work that's in place now across the state. The time for that work is not forever, but it has actually helped the plants to be viable at this particular time. The plants are involved now, knowing that the credits won't be there forever, in advocating for additional emissions programs. And these programs that they're advocating for are not just local, but state, federal. We know that it was shared with me that the governor is now working with some of the programming that the president has in place around emissions. He has some goals around emissions and Build Back Better, some of those different programs that he's got. And what they've seen is that there is some language in there around ZEC credit, so hopefully that will roll down to the state level. So they've been involved in advocating and trying to find ways to continue to do the work that they're doing. We know that the plants will be considering in the near future whether or not they will be renewing their licensure. So their licensure is in place to 2029. And one of the things that we did talk about is that, one of the nuclear reactors is, as you all know, is actually one of the oldest, not only in the state, but in the country. Still moving forward right now at this point in time, but soon they'll know, in terms of the renewal process. And as soon as they know, they'll let us know, basically. I did talk with them about would they be willing to come and talk with the board in the near future. And the representative did say to me, yes, if the board would like a future presentation, they certainly can come in and talk. And the goal is to continue to partner and to share information openly, transparently, wherever possible. So great conversation, good information, and more to be continued. So we'll continue to share as we kind of move forward. Just want to share that very soon here we're going to be moving into our strategic planning process. So we have this wonderful plan. We want to continue to move forward with that plan. Right now, we have a tentative date of September 28th, and there's several people here on the board who are part of our strategic planning, so you'll be getting an email invite here soon. And on the 28th, our goal is to try to meet for a day with all of those stakeholders and sit down to see where are we at right now and where do we need to go throughout the year, and to chart out the pathway moving forward for the year. And then we'll come back and share with the board what happened in our strategic planning meeting. So participants are being notified as we kind of speak here, and I just wanted to share that we're moving forward to bring that work back, okay? Or to continue that work, rather, I should say. All right, so the last part of my report tonight is just trying to bring us back through the 4-part efficiency study. So at our last meeting, we talked about the timeline of how we got to where we were in terms of our study from the winter of 2020 up until the fall of 2022. And so now we're in the process of kind of moving forward with decision-making around the study. At our last meeting, the board decided that, sorry about that, the board did decide to move forward with implementing recommendations from the Transportation Advisory study portion. Rick Timms, who brought in the fiscal pieces, and then also the Siemens Group that would be moving forward with the efficiency work that we would like to do. So all 3 of those pieces, our goal is to try to now create an action plan and to bring that plan back before the board throughout the year. The board also shared that it wanted to hold with respect to recommendations for Costello and Silke, and that it needed more time and information before kind of moving forward with that portion of the study. So one of the things that was asked for was, some of the past studies that had been done over the last years, 20 years, basically, back to 2002, excuse me. So we did give that information to the board just to make sure that everybody had that so that you could see that. So we just kind of want to follow up then to see where people are this evening, where the board is. The Costello and Silke Group, they made a number of recommendations, as you have seen in your packet and also in the presentation from our last meeting and this meeting. And so the board really has several options that it might want to consider. So one of the options is just to continue status quo, right? To implement none of the recommendations from that Costello and Silke group. And that is really okay if the board would prefer to do that. The second option is to implement all of the recommendations except for the repurposing of Layton at this time. Now, there's some caveats there. So again, there was more in the Costello study than just the repurposing of a school. There were a variety of other recommendations that the board might like to consider and think about. So, if the board wishes to, it could implement all those other recommendations, except for the repurposing, with the caveats of reviewing other pieces of information, which involve the latent repurposing, and or just simply holding off on reviewing other pieces of information which involve latent repurposing. The third option is to implement all of the recommendations, which includes considering repurposing of latent. And if the board wishes to do that, again, the caveats, 2 caveats there, review other pieces of information which involve latent repurposing, and or hold off on reviewing other pieces of information which involve latent repurposing. So there's, we can do status quo if the board wishes to. If the board would like, we could implement all recommendations but the repurposing, or consider all of the information and just take your time until you figure out what you'd like to do for sure. If the board did want to consider number 3, we know that there's some follow-up information that the board would need, and we've listed a couple of those things to make the most informed decision in terms of activities. A couple of things that we would suggest is that, first of all, that the board consider moving forward with a community focus group where we would have stakeholders from the community come together and discuss the study, discuss options, discuss what they see as best for the community, right? And also, in addition to that, I would recommend a thought exchange survey. And the thought exchange is it's a really huge comprehensive survey that anyone who would like to participate from the community can. It's confidential. And basically, there's different thoughts that go out, and then community members can respond to those thoughts and give their thoughts at the same time. And then what happens is all of that data is disaggregated, and you get back themes to hear from the community what they would like to do as a whole. And thousands of people can participate in the exchange. The second follow-up activity that I would recommend is, again, review class size data. Now, I know that there's some concerns about class size, and certainly my recommendation would be, if we were to move forward, is we could bring you back data that shows, at least for K through 3, class sizes that are 20 or less across the district, and show you how that might work out. And I mean, we'll work towards that 20 number across the board, but definitely K through 3. If the board would like to see that, we can bring that to you. Recommend that we look at labor data, so you can see how this would affect our staff, so that, we believe that much of this work can be done with things can be done through attrition, but certainly that's something that we can share. I would recommend that we complete and report out building condition survey results, so we know that, the building condition survey that was done the last time when our building condition survey was done, it came back with quite a bit of work that needed to be done. We're involved now in a capital construction project that's about $63 million plus, right? And there was still, millions of dollars worth of work that still needed to be done. So we're now involved in a new building condition survey that's looking at all of our buildings. And that survey, we know, is going to come back for sure with additional work and items. The last study was done 5 years ago. So there was some work we weren't able to get into the study that now those issues have compounded a little bit. And then there's more since that time, right, across the district. So certainly I recommend that you look at that as well. I think what's also important is that the board gets a chance to look at real estate data. I know there's some questions about, we have some buildings that have been just put up in the city, right? Who's going into those buildings? What are the costs, right? How does that affect our enrollment? We have some real estate data that we can share with the board. I think that will help to answer some questions. Redistricting plan. How would we redistrict? And really the goal is to make sure that kids are not on the bus for long periods of time. So we would have redistricting mapping and data that we would bring back if the board wishes to see that. And then any other information or requests that the board might have, we'd bring back. So I just go back to, there are options there. So if the board says, let's just hold status quo where this Silky group is concerned and take some time, we're prepared to do so. The second part is if the board says, do everything but the repurposing at this time, and we'll take some more time, with one of those two caveats, or others, if the board wishes, it's fine as well. And then the last is implement all recommendations, which include the repurposing of Layton. So just wondering where the board is as of this evening, and we wish to do whatever the board would like to see done.
All right, so, and just to be clear and that everyone understands what it is that we're potentially voting on here is, we, I think, need to give our guidance to the school district about whether we want to even consider moving forward the repurposing of Layton as it was recommended in the efficiency study. So I think it would be helpful, and thank you for the details on all of the other important pieces of data that we're interested in. But I think it would be useful for us to, we can certainly have discussion about this now, like if someone wants to put forward a motion, and then we can actually discuss the motion. But I think the motion has to be clear about whether we want to move forward. I would say, I think the language for the motion is whether we want to review other pieces of information or review the efficiency study, which also involve repurposing Layton, or if we want to review or look at implementing the efficiency study without considering repurposing Layton. So I want to be clear, this is not a vote right now on whether we want to repurpose Layton or not, but do we want the school district to go through putting together all of that data for us to even consider, or would we rather just not take up the question of repurposing Layton at this time? Okay, actually, wait, before you speak, before you go, Pam, can we, do you want to, we just need a motion on the table, so,
Sure.
okay.
You want to make a motion, Pam? Okay, so, and again, I'm only going based on the information I have to date. So I would make the motion that we implement all the recommendations except for repurposing Layton.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to open it up with, if this motion goes down for any reason, it's only, as Lisa said, it would only be to gather more information from Dr. Calvin and his team so that a decision could be made later, right? So no matter how this flies today, that would be a possibility, right? And I only say that because I made the motion based on the Costello study in itself, right? The data I have to date is why I made the motion I have. It'd be interesting as part of this discussion to hear what other information we might see, right? So I just kind of wanted to throw that out as why I made the motion the way I did.
Okay. Pam, did you want to speak to the motion? Nope. Anyone else want to speak to this motion or against the motion?
No, go ahead, Lisa.
Well, so I guess I would recommend that we vote no on this motion, just because I think it is important for us to have the discussion about whether we even want to consider and what information we would need before we even want to consider repurposing Layton. All right, so if there are no others, oh,
For
sorry,
me,
Dave.
I mean, obviously, I need a lot more information as far as the class sizes, what they're gonna anticipate it as. The real estate piece I haven't seen, and there's just a lot more information before I would consider anything like that.
Okay, so the motion on the floor, just to make sure that everyone understands what we're voting on, the motion on the floor is to say right now, basically option 2 on this sheet. So we're going to implement the recommendations, but not talk about repurposing Layton at this time.
So if
Okay.
you vote yes, you're choosing to not have any further discussion about repurposing Layton. And if you vote no, it's to have further discussion about repurposing Layton.
Right, thank you,
Yeah.
because this is one of those
Yeah.
yes and no, or the reverse of what you want.
Right, right.
Probably. Tom, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, I just followed the same thing with Dave said. I don't think we have enough information yet to make that decision. I think there's a lot of information, particularly relative to 9 Mile, relative to class sizes, relative to everything that Mathis laid out in the beginning. So I would vote no again to the motion because I need more information and want more information.
Okay. I was just going to say, to speak to Jim's point, I understand what your concerns were about the data presented in the study, but I think if we were going to move forward with considering it, so option number 3, we would be getting a lot more information to consider. It would not just be, I don't want to say an outsider's point of view, but an external group giving us data and, to your view, somewhat either incomplete or maybe, flawed data in some way. I think those were your concerns before. So I just would probably vote no to number 2, because I think we could bring a lot more community-based information to the table for consideration.
So,
Can I say one more? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Everyone's already
No, I
spoken
see.
once, so go ahead.
Okay. The other thing that I just wanted to bring forward was, Jim's saying relative to the Silky information, we have all that data in the other research that was done, and that's a pretty deep dive and needs time to be examined to see, if their projections were right relative to enrollment size over time and relative to, the data that they used as well. So that's another reason that I would throw out there as well.
So it's just, it'll probably be my final, but who knows? One of the reasons I made the motion as I did as well, based on the data, is that I'm not sure in my mind how we're going to reconcile the savings that were talked about with the repurposing of Layton, which was really a reduction of 11 teachers, eliminating 11 classrooms, which would increase class size. And it's my opinion that class size can come down, and I do appreciate the fact that a plan going forward would bring, hey, let's see what we can do to get less students in a classroom. I get that. But what I don't get is it in relationship to the savings, the 1.8 million that was discussed by Costello. That study really was based on saving money through the teachers. There was a principal, there would be some custodial or whatever staff involved, but it was really through teachers. And the plan said we could do it through attrition, which is great, unless class size goes up. I would want class size to go down, right? So the reason why I made the motion is let me put it this way. Based on what I've seen from Costello already, the efficiency comes from the saving of teachers. If we're not going to do that, we're not going to make the savings. And I would vote yes for asking our administration to find a way to lower class sizes. But I don't want to vote yes to the administration doing a plan that looks to close a building where all the data says the savings are coming from increasing class sizes, right? If that makes sense. I don't want to put, I guess the reason for my vote, I'm not confident we can do this without increasing class size. So I don't want to put the administration through an exercise that I feel I'm going to vote no for sometime in the future. And so that's why I'm happy to have this discussion, because if Dr. Calvin, you and your team believe that we can really look at it as a whole and not increase class size, well then it's discussion worthy having, but I'm not seeing that. I don't want to create work for you folks. I guess that's where I'm going with it.
I would say, I can appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. Certainly, we don't want to, there's a lot going on this year. There's a number of things that we need to focus on, and so we certainly don't want to turn the wheels when we don't really need to. But just to be clear, I just want to make sure that we're clear about, so yes, the study has in there a variety of staffing that could be reduced, right, through attrition. I don't want to say that it's just about teachers, because it's bigger than just teachers, right? There are other people that would be involved in that process of looking at making changes through attrition. So a number of our units would be involved. We would have, our teachers unit, our CSCA unit, our administrative unit. Like it's really not just one unit. So I just want to be clear about that. The second thing is I think we also need to be clear, maybe this is why some of this we may need more time to discuss, right? We need to be clear about what is the goal for class sizes across the district, right? So as you look on, I believe it was like page 32 in the study, it gives you a chart, and it shows you what the average class size is when you put everyone's classes together across the whole district. And in many cases, you will find that class sizes are 20 or less in many areas. Now, we do have some class sizes that are above 20, right? Depends on some of the unique needs that are across the district, but we do have a couple we do have some that are above 20. But I think we would need to have a conversation about what the board is looking for in terms of its class size goal as well. Does that make sense to everybody, right? So again, when I'm looking at a study that shows us, and in some of our own data, that the average across the board is 17, 18, I'm not sure that is really out of line, right? Actually, it's a lot lesser than what you'll find in many other surrounding districts. Some still have sizes of 25 and up. So we're okay. We're making headway. Do I think that we can put a plan together to try to make that even better? I do, but it would mean we'd have to look at, when we do reductions, if we were to go down that road, not making so many reductions that the study kind of recommended. So some of the things that are in the study, I would do differently, right? So the outside group made their recommendations, thank you, but we have to live it. Does that make sense? And we have to, we're in the work every day. So some of the things that are there, I would not recommend. And do I think you can do 20 or less? I think you could. But again, we need to think and have that conversation out loud in terms of what are our expectations around class sizes. Maybe that's a future conversation. I just wanted to share those two things, okay? Whichever way, again, the board wishes to move, we're prepared to move in that direction as well, okay?
Okay, so we have a motion on the table effectively to choose option 2, which is to implement all recommendations except for repurposing Layton at this time. We ready for a vote? So all in favor?
Aye?
Opposed?
No.
Nay.
I'm voting yes. I hadn't said anything. I'm voting yes.
You're voting yes?
Yes.
With, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3. Okay, we have 3 in favor of the motion and 4 against the motion. So the motion passes, but I think obviously I'm sorry, the motion fails. Okay, so the motion fails. Do we want, so we've got 2 additional options, right? So one would be the status quo, kind of ignoring everything from the study. Or we can have a motion about implementing, or at least looking at implementing the recommendations, which includes considering the repurposing of Layton. So does someone want to put forward a motion in support of your position?
I'll make the motion to consider option 3, including the repurposing of Layton.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion.
So as a procedural aspect to this, would it be appropriate or accepted for an amendment that would ask that the administration consider a class size of 20 for K through 3 at least, and the possibility of K through 6 as part of the plan? We're going to that question of what Dr. Calvin was speaking about, additional discussion amongst the board about what would be, our wishes about class size, what we think it is.
I think I would want more information. I think right now, our job would be saying, we want more information to consider, and one of the key pieces is class size and the realities about staffing.
Right.
Before we could even consider voting on repurposing Layton, which would be the next step down the road.
Right.
I don't know that I feel comfortable putting a number on class size right now until they do their work and they would come back with recommendations to us about appropriate class sizes post-COVID, with our literacy goals, with a lot of pieces wrapped into their work every day.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm Heidi, but that's
Oh,
okay.
sorry. Heidi. I was thinking the same exact thing when it comes to literacy goals, when it comes to the lost learning our students have had during COVID. The fact that we have extra money now, and I appreciate every time Tom says nuke plant. I do. But right now, with the extra funds that we have from the federal government, I view this as a time where we should be really concentrating on doing everything we can nearest to the student. And so I look at it in a little bit different of a way. I do accept that, saying a mandate of 20 is not reasonable, because sometimes class size fluctuates, right? It can't be exact, but I know in my mind, since I would not vote for any increase, I am tough with status quo and really want to decrease. If the entire board feels that way, then I feel like we should be sharing that with our administrators now, rather than waiting for a comeback of, see, what can you do, what do you think you can do? Because then it may be like, well, that's not what we were looking for. Thanks for all the work, but that's not what we were looking for. I would like to shoot for some targets and see if they can hit them. I guess that's just a different look at kind of the same thing. But understanding that there's no perfect number. I get that.
Okay. Go ahead,
I was
Tom.
say, just, Jim, my concern relative to that, and I think it speaks to what Heidi is saying as well, is I don't want to send, it's an arbitrary number. I'd much rather look at it with the recommendation that comes back to see what the realities are in terms of how close we can get. But then also what Mathis had referred to before, looking at the study of what's really most effective. I just don't feel I have that information to be able to set a number, be it 20, 22, 23, whatever that is, because I think there are so many variables relative to that. But that's how I feel. And I think the idea to see it come back, they know, I think Mathis knows and the team knows, we're shooting for the smallest that we can get functionally that's going to service us the best. But I'd rather wait to see what that comes back before we make that determination with a hard number.
You know, we had talked about Beds Day, which is coming up. We'll have better numbers, firmer numbers about enrollment. Not for nothing, I was glad to see Beds Day coming up, and I thought, oh, Bob, present for you.
And Nancy, too.
And I understand your point, Jim. We've had many a discussion over the years about optimal class sizes, what's the tipping point, what do studies actually say about that. But I think that's part of the work that the team does, and Dr. Calvin, to come back and say, here's the reality, here's what we could potentially have for class sizes. And I think what Tom said, like, I don't want to put just an arbitrary number. I think it's clear what our goal would be the lowest feasible number that still creates a robust class. You know, and that would be, I think that would be any board's goal, I would hope.
I agree. I will be quiet after this. But my only concern is based on the study that we were just presented, last year's K through 3, 26% of the classes were 20 and above. I don't remember the exact, it was like 15 out of 20, 52, whatever it was 26%, as I recall. So that, to me, is too high. I think we need to do better. So I'll leave it at that.
I'm sorry, can I say one more thing?
Yep.
And that was, I think, Jim, you mentioned that in terms of the percentage of the classes, but also what Mathis had said, the recommendation was X, 11 teachers. But if we look at it and we can assign to those areas, you know, where the majority of our classes are under that 20, or not the majority, but a good portion, and we can target those areas where we may exceed those numbers and say we don't lose 11 the first year, we lose 8, we maintain 3, but we're heading in the right direction for overall savings, and that would adjust with the downward slope of enrollment if those numbers continue. So we'd be adjusting there with payroll or labor that would match that and keep us effective. So that's all I have.
And just keep in mind that the data, I believe, in that study was from 21, 22, so it's a year old. It's not the most current data. And we do have, so we have newer numbers that we could bring back before the board to share that information with you as well, if you'd like that, okay?
So, I mean, I would agree that, I mean, the reason why I'm speaking for this motion is I think that it's part of our responsibility to also look at the future of the district. And we're doing that in ways in other areas, like with the strategic plan and making sure that we have the right personnel in place. And I think we need to look at it from, you know, it's not only about our fiduciary responsibility, but it is also about our, that's like actually why we're in the positions that we're in. And I think it's important to take a look to make sure that we can achieve those goals, at least examine, can we achieve those goals and still move forward in a way? And it's obviously a very challenging decision, right? There's a reason why these studies have been going on for 20 years. It's, it's a very tough decision to make. As someone whose high school closed last year, it's a very emotional decision, right? So I understand, and this is why we want to hear also from give the opportunity to the community to speak, and to, I think, look at this data. So I am speaking for this motion. Is there anyone else to speak for or against the motion before we vote? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to implementing or going to on option 3, which is to implement the recommendations.
You had an amendment on the floor. Do you want to?
Oh, I don't know that, I didn't actually treat it as an official amendment because Heidi talked him out of it, but
Well,
do you want to
she-
vote it on as an amendment?
You know, she didn't, but I didn't just
Okay.
want to force the issue if the board, if nobody else, I only heard from me and Heidi.
Okay.
So if nobody else is on board, I don't want to make a motion that nobody's considering. It's,
Did you want to make a motion for the amendment? Or no? I don't want to talk you in or out of
no,
anything.
I get, and I appreciate that very much, because,
You might want to just not put that hard number, but use the words, strive for lowest possible, Heidi had the best wording.
Robust classes
Robust
with
class-
small.
Yeah.
okay, I make a motion to amend that class size be considered to be the same or less in any plan.
There you go. That seems very reasonable. As opposed to just a hard number.
There you go.
So the
That
same or
av-
less
that-
is what was in
that-
the report.
That average enrollment, as we're looking, it even could be this year's enrollment. We would absolutely use this year's data. I only quoted last year's data because I haven't seen this year's data, right? So absolutely use the most relevant, most up-to-date data, but look to have any plan
Not increase
maintain,
class size.
even easier, not increase class size.
Okay, do we have a second on the amendment? The amendment is to have, the amendment is to include in this that class sizes not be increased from their current place.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Okay, so we're voting just on the amendment to add the language that we would like a school district to consider not increasing class sizes from where they currently stand. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Yep, I think we are unanimous on the amendment. So, on the motion to implement the recommendations, which include considering the repurposing of Layton as long as class sizes do not increase. Or something to that effect. I didn't write it down when
Well, it's looking
Jim
for a
was speaking.
plan,
looking for a plan.
right, in which
Well, to
class
consider,
size.
right.
Right, because we're still looking for a plan. We're not
Right.
considering anything except
Right.
we're looking for a plan.
Right, where class
There we
sizes
go.
don't increase.
Yep,
Okay. All in favor?
I can vote for that one.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. Do you want to go back to your?
So, okay, board, so just to be clear then, we will start moving forward with these activities and bring back more information to the board. We will get information out to the community right away around a focus group. And our goal is to get as many diverse voices as we can to bring back and share feedback and thoughts. And we are definitely going to reach out to folks to have them be a part of that. We'll also start moving with a thought exchange. We'll share that information as well with the public and with the board. And then in future Board of Education meetings, we'll just start to come back to each of these items, and we'll take them one at a time. And then just take our time going through them, and whatever questions you have, we'll answer them. And once we've gotten through everything, and you've got a full report from everyone, heard from all voices, then we'll come back to figure out what steps you'd like to engage in next. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that good with everybody?
Yes.
Are you okay? Okay, all right, okay. Okay, any other questions or things that we can answer? All right, we're all set. Thank you. All set.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda with items A and B. If I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is curriculum with Karen Humphrey.
Good evening. For your approval, A, School Comprehensive Education Plan created by the Oswego Middle School.
Could I have a motion, please? Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is personnel with Robert Sirkis.
Good evening, everybody. Under item A, professional staff recommendations of retirement, as presented.
Could I have a motion, please, on item A? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, professional staff recommendation for resignation, as presented.
Motion, please.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item C, professional staff recommendation for probationary position, as presented.
Item C, motion, please. Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Item D, professional staff recommendation for regular substitute, as presented.
Item C, if I could have a motion, please.
Make a motion.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Items E through V are all extra compensatory positions, as presented.
Move it.
Bob, that was E through
V.
V. Items E through V, could I have a motion, please?
I think Jim moved
Jim?
it.
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Sean? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item W, extracurricular volunteer recommendations, as presented.
Item W, if I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Items X through double B are support staff recommendations, as presented.
Sorry, Bob, that was X through double
Double B.
E?
B.
B as in boy.
B as in boy, B as in Bob. Take your pick.
Items X through double B, if I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And the last one, item C, double C, substitute and temporary employees for the 22-23 school year, as presented.
Item double C, if I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes, I will be abstaining on this because of the family relationship, so I will be abstaining.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Tom, you abstain.
Correct, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Finance with Lisa Carter, who's filling in for Nancy Squires tonight.
Good evening. A is the district safety plan as presented.
Items A, could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
B, C, and D are donations as presented.
Items B through D, if I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just thank you to those folks for the donations.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
And E and F are contracts as presented.
Items E through F, if I could have a motion, please.
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is items from the board. Would any board members have any items tonight?
Read. Did that not start yet?
I believe you're referring to read to them.
Oh, reads them?
yes.
Yes. Did
Yeah.
that start yet?
It's just starting.
Just
Yep.
starting.
It's just starting
So that's
this
my
week.
cue. I cannot stress how important it is. Read to your children. Have your children read to you, please, please, please. Thanks. Thank you, always. Administrators, faculty, staff, all staff, support staff. Thank you all for showing up every day for our students. We appreciate you.
I just wanted to thank, I was able to do the tour of most of the buildings on Friday, and I really want to thank our faculty and staff and our students. I know it's really disruptive to have like 5 or 6 people tromping through into your classroom, waving at kids. And it was very interesting. I hadn't actually been in several of the schools yet, so it was very interesting to see. A lot of what is happening with our capital plan are really infrastructure type things that you don't see necessarily from the outside. And they were really high-ticket items, like we toured the boiler room of the middle school, which was very interesting and a lot of money. But it was really clear that there's also still a lot more work to be done there. So I think it's just important to recognize that we made kind of like some really good first steps in our first capital plan in what I believe was a while. But there's, I think, some more, I'm looking forward to being able to see some more changes that are closer to the students, sort of directly impact, especially that our students can have a more innovative educational experience and that we can meet our strategic plan goals. So, but thank you for letting us disrupt you all.
Any other
Aye.
items?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and this is basically for everyone on the board, I don't know if you're familiar with the, I know the email that was put out regarding the Covey workshops up at ESM, and I didn't know if anybody had any questions about them or were familiar with the process, but it's the Stephen Covey process of 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, which is what we utilize over at FitU in the Leader in Me program, really, for the kids there. And it's just a workshop that helps organizations, helps personal habit forming, but also organizations operate more efficiently and effectively. And so if anybody else is interested in that, I just wanted to put it out there because this is what ESM is offering to their board members, and they also offered it and opened the doors to other districts as well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm not a board member, but just 2 things I forgot to, 2 things I forgot to mention. I'm sorry, during my report. Also, school boards is coming up, New York State school boards, and if anyone would like to go, okay, Lisa's going to say that. Okay, if you want to go, so there's sessions in the morning, in the afternoon, and also in the evening, right? They have guest speakers for the opening night. There's a really great speaker. So if you would like to go, and I know some of you have work commitments, we understand, but if you want to go at another time, there are other opportunities there. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is that in a future meeting, the school boards, some of their staff were at the NISCUS conference this past week and approached me and shared that we've been identified for one of our programs, the Fast Forward program that we're doing. And they like to come at a future meeting and honor the board and the district for the work that they're doing. So if you're okay, I will schedule them to come for a time to say congratulations to the board and the entire district. So we'll work on that, okay? All right, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just I guess as a reminder to board members, if you're interested in attending the NISBA conference, which is going to be in Syracuse, to let Karen know. I actually started an email to you. I'm actually interested in going to the school law pre-conference workshop, so I don't know if anyone is interested in going to that. And then I realized I never sent that email, so I will get that sent to you. But there's a point by which we have to register, which is the 20, I didn't have it off the top of my head, but maybe just in the next week, if we can let her know if we want to go to it. Thanks.
Any other items from the board tonight? Would there be a need for an executive session?
Yes, to discuss the performance of a particular staff member, please. Yes.
And would there be a need for a vote after executive session? Could I have a motion for executive session?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You may move to executive session.